Welcome to Repco Muscle Garage. Proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars, love Maguire's. And Resto-mod, high performance additives for high performance vehicles. In this episode, we head to the North Shore for the Repco Takapuna Rocks and have a chat to Mark Thompson about his killer HQ Holden. But first up, thanks to our mates at Maguire's, we check out the Aviate workshop in Kumeu. Service and maintenance for the Pine Pack racing team and one of the top workshops in the country for motorsport builds and maintenance. Pine Pack racing has been part of the New Zealand motorsport landscape for nearly 40 years, with history in Production Saloon, Group A, NZV8 and more recently, the Central Muscle Car Series.
I'm Andrew Anderson. I'm up here today at Aviate Motorsport. This isn't the home of Pine Pack Racing, but it is where we get all our cars serviced and maintained. It's off season at the moment, but there's a lot of work being done on the muscle cars around the workshop today. Racing wise, it's been a bit of a bizarre 12 months. We were racing in New Zealand, we got to go over to Bathurst, but then we've been parked up for quite a while, so we're just pre-season Central Muscle Cars, getting the cars prepped. Hopefully we'll be back out on track in the coming months. Both of the Pine Pack cars are serviced and maintained up here at Aviate Motorsport. It's a bit of a family affair. It's my uncle, my father's younger brother Wayne Jacko Anderson. He's quite well known in the muscle car scene. He does all the builds up here, build our XE and maintains the cars. He also runs many other cars out of here, and he's got a couple of exciting builds underway at the moment as well. The Pine Pack cars will be fairly familiar to most people. The 69 Mustang that my father's been racing for many years. A couple of years ago we got to build a XE Falcon and got to join them out on track, so the two familiar Pine Pack yellow cars, the 69 Mustang and the XE Falcon. So when the XE was built recently, it was a copy, if you like, of the Mustang. Runs the same engine and gearbox and brake package. So effectively, other than the look of the cars being a different set of body panels, one being an American muscle car Mustang, the other one an 80s muscle car from Australia. Both cars run to Group 1 Central Muscle Car spec, and we both run the NASCAR Roush Yates Sprint Cup engines, so straight out of good old North Carolina NASCAR country, putting out about 850 horsepower. So there's more than enough to skid the Hankook tyres. But yeah, effectively underneath the skin, bodies look different, but the same engine, package, gearbox and brakes. Dad's been running in the Central Muscle Cars now since about 2009, I think it was. So he's been one of the long stayers in the class. I was fortunate enough to join 2 years ago and we put in a full season together. Last year was a bit of a mixed season for us. We didn't do all the rounds. Competitive up the front. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to bag a win in either of the cars, but certainly they both had pole positions and competitive and amongst a very popular class, and a class that's growing with some pretty serious cars. I think in the class there's capability of having about 60 cars if they all turned up on one day, which would be a pretty bumper grid, but already this season I think we've got entry numbers over 30 cars, so it's a very popular series. A lot of guys coming in and building cars that they've always wanted to own, and now they're fortunate enough to put them out on track and showcase them. As well as the two Pine Pack cars that are maintained up here, there's a lot of other clients that come through. We don't have exclusive access to Wayne and Tony's talents, so there's a lot of other muscle cars that get work done here, get maintained here. There's a new Tirana that's been built out of here, there's a Kumeu underway, there's another Falcon, and that's on top of them running their own cars. You know, Wayne's Monza's hopefully going to hit the track again this season in New Zealand, as well as running Super Tourers and the like as well. Tony's pretty active himself as a driver. Activity up here just this week is doing a lot of maintenance on the cars that ran last weekend in the 1 hour. John Midgley, who runs in Central Muscle Cars, was alongside me. His Super Tour is here getting some maintenance. Dad's put a little bit of a ding in one of Wayne's cars and it's getting repaired in the shed also from the 1 hour, so there's always something going on up here, up at Aviate. Aviate's been running probably now for nearly 20 years. Wayne left the family sawmill business to start up his passion here, working on cars. That went through the NZV8 era, through the TL chassis, carried on through the Super Tourer era, if you like, and now it's gone full circle back into muscle cars. So he's been up here tinkering on cars, building cars, maintaining cars for a good 20 years, and him and Tony build some of the best muscle cars that you'd see in Central Muscle Cars today. During the heydays of the NZV8 racing, Wayne's pretty accomplished. With my then teammate Andy Booth, they won 2 championships and numerous other races. I chalked up a few wins myself. Maybe Rookie of the Year doesn't quite rate it as a championship, but it was a very exciting time to be part of the action here in the shed. A lot of the success of the workshops come from the customers. A lot of the 1 hour competitors, a lot of the other muscle car competitors that their cars come here and get maintained have gone on to win races and win trophies in their series. So the success of the shop continues to evolve through the customers that keep coming through the doors. Even looking forward, Aviate, they've got a couple of cars waiting for customers, if you like. There's anyone who wants a Monza or another Falcon, there's a couple of cars ready to go. Just come up and see Wayne and he'll get the build started. With the demise of Holden, it's sort of seen a bit of a changing of the guards here in the shed. There's more Fords now than GM in the shed, but I'm not worried about that. I drive one as a daily ride, so it's all good with me.
Now, thanks to Mount Shop, we venture over the bridge to the North Shore for the Repco Takapuna Rocks. Repco Takapuna Rocks brings classic car enthusiasts from the length and breadth of the country to the beachside hub of Takapuna. Locals and visitors can join in the family fun packed with activities, food and refreshments, and an opportunity to enjoy an extensive show of some of the country's finest cars, bikes and caravans.
I'm Matt, I'm the organiser of Repco Takapuna Rocks 2020 down here on the Strand on the North Shore in Auckland. Yeah, just a step back in time, free family day out in Takapuna where everyone can come and enjoy the day.
As a relatively new event, in its 2nd year, Takapuna Rocks is becoming a must in the annual event calendar.
We got just under 200 and some of the best cars in the country. Obviously with a very trying year with COVID and stuff like that, entries are very slow to happen, but they've finally kicked in the last couple of weeks. But unfortunately we've had a few people that have pulled out today due to obviously what's happening here in Auckland.
But not just any car can roll up and be put on display.
Restricted at 1972, but what we do is if somebody's got a special car, we're happy to talk to them. We want interesting stuff here and not as much later stuff. We are trying to take people back in time to the early years, so that's what we're aiming at with the music and the markets. We had a huge turnout from the Chopper Club today, so we've got motorbikes here, we've got the beach buggies, we've got caravans. So we've got 4 prizes today. We've got the sponsor's choice, the organiser's choice, and a wild card. And then we've got best bike of the show, which is a new one this year. We had a couple of bikes last year. This year we put a bit more emphasis on talking to some of the clubs and stuff like that, just to expand the show a bit. And same with the caravans, we've got some cool little caravans down there. And then hopefully we can work a bit better with the caravan guys for years to come. This afternoon we've got the pin-up competition where we'll crown Miss Takapuna Rocks 2020. That's sponsored by Karen Morrell. They get a beautiful prize pack from her. Just makes for a good day out. It is free for the families to come out and there's face painting and stuff like that as well.
Takapuna Rocks is not just all about cars and pin-ups. As a community fundraising event, they support some local causes.
We give donations to Make-A-Wish New Zealand and also Yes Disability, who have just built Shore Junction here on the shore. So keeping it quite local and causes that are close to our hearts.
And as the sun sets on another fantastic Repco Takapuna Rocks, the crowd's got to enjoy the sweet symphony of classic and muscle cars as they headed home in anticipation of the next show.
advanced protection of hybrid ceramic.
Whoa.
Now in 3 easy-to-use products. In original spray wax, now as a liquid wax, and a spray detailer. Meguiar's hybrid ceramic family with advanced SiO2 technology. Meguiar's, ceramic made easy.
Rislone has been in engines almost as long as engines have been in cars. Why? Because from then until now, there's never been a perfectly clean fuel. This means every time you fill up, you're adding pollutants and contaminants to your fuel system. Rislone Fuel Injector Cleaner can cure those woes and help save your engine. Rislone Fuel Injector Cleaner adds an upper cylinder lubricant, providing double the cleaning power out of the same bottle. We know something about aging well, so when we say it's your engine's fountain of youth under a screw top, you can count on it. Rislone is the original engine tune-up. Available at participating stores near you.
Welcome back to Repco Muscle Garage. Now, thanks to Rislone, we stopped by Mark Thompson's garage to check out his LS1-powered HQ Holden.
I'm Mark Thompson from Hamilton. Got a 1972 HQ Holden. It's a bit of a Resto-mod. Started off as a beer shell, basically. Bought one from down in Fielding. My brother and I went down and got that, brought it back to Hamilton. Started working on it, and we realised that it was just too far gone to be usable. So we had a few good usable parts off that one. So we kept those parts and scrapped the body. Then we moved on and found another body. Finally got into panel beating. My brother's a panel beater, so that helped me a lot. I'm an engineer, so between the two of us we collaborated and got everything done. Always going to be the objective to fit an aftermarket motor. Set about looking for an LS1. Back then in 2008 there wasn't many around in New Zealand, so I started searching abroad for ideas on how to do it. There had been a few done in Aussie, and so I got a few ideas there, but there was nothing really off the shelf that you could buy to mount it. So I had to make my own engine mounts and transmission mounts, exhaust, headers, made it all myself from scratch. So that took a bit of time, but we got there in the end and it was well worth it. Started off with a stock motor, finished everything off, got it all going, and then a friend of mine came around on a Monaro and he had a cammed motor on that. Well, that just set me off. I was all over that. So I went about the route of pulling the engine down and putting a big cam in it, Calford cam, and all the rest of the valve train mods that go with that to beef it up. It's a stock bottom end, but they are bulletproof pretty much as a stock unit. Bit of a LS2 intake to it, get a better airflow in. Also a large mouth throttle body to go with that. Had it all tuned by ProTune in Auckland. Wayne did a really good job there. It's putting out just under 400 horsepower at the rear wheels, so I'm pretty happy with that. Definitely enough to light the tyres up on takeoff if you're not careful. Also recently just fitted a 2,500 high stall torque converter to it, and that's made a world of difference to driving it. It's just so much nicer to so that traffic lights, it's not surging on you, and also just for drivability it's much smoother. Pretty much breezed through the certification. That was pretty easy, but I had a bit of troubles with the transmission. I'd fitted a modified torque converter to it and something wasn't quite right with it, and it ended up burning out the trans. That happened halfway through the certification process, so I had to rush it back and replace the gearbox, put another gearbox in, and then get it back for that. And it was all a rush to get it done before Christmas, so I managed to source a second-hand gearbox and get that in, and got it all done. Flew through the cert, had to be all re-vinned because it had gone out of the system back in '95, so it wasn't too much of a major. Being an engineer, I'd made sure I'd done everything right along the way and sought the right advice, so it made the whole process really quite easy. It's taken 12 years roughly. My brother and I, we sort of plod along as money money progressed, and we worked along with it. And time flies really quickly when you're working and trying to do this as well. Between the two of us, we spent a lot of weekends on it. As time got on, things got closer, and we managed to get it along to paint. And paint was done by advanced auto painters. A magic job. I built a rotisserie for it, so they could access all the parts nice and easy. We had to cut out the floor in a couple of places, guards, door bottoms and stuff like that, just the usual areas that rust out on them. All the rust was cut out and replaced with new steel. And then from there it was sandblasted, etch primed, and yeah, away to paint. It's actually a VE Commodore colour. I saw it on a VE Commodore that was at the Hamilton V8s as a display car. And they'd done it with a similar set out with the black stripes and stuff, and I thought that looked really quite nice. I really wanted it to look like a GTS, even though it's not. I've tried to keep it in that style along the way, apart from the motor, and yeah, I mean, it's come out really good. When we fitted the motor, we realised that the engine was actually sitting a tad too high, fouling on the bonnet bracing. So I came up with an idea, and my brother helped me with it. And we cut out and remade the centre section of the bonnet. And if you didn't know that it had been cut, you would think it was stock. So that's smoothed the whole bonnet area out. Over the radiator intake, I had to modify it to suit that, because the original bonnet latch was in the centre of the bonnet. That is now taken up with the over the radiator air intake. I had to make up my mounts for holding the bonnet down now, and I've used an aftermarket bonnet lock, and it just finishes it off, keeps it all legit and safe. Also a stainless drop tank, just for a bit of longevity in your driving. You don't have to fill up every couple of Ks, because with that cam she is pretty thirsty, and it definitely turns heads, and you get that everybody looks when you come past. But it's all about smiles per gallon rather than miles per gallon, really. I just finished off getting all the Holden certified, and I was never really going to do another car, but then this 48 Chevy came up for sale, and it was too good a deal to pass up. I really wanted a fleet line, which was the two-door version, but this is a four-door, but still the same shape. So I picked that up from a guy in Kumeu, and I went about getting that back on the road again. New wheels, new tyres, engine needed a little bit of work, but apart from that, she's all original. I've fitted a few extras to it. I've put the racing stripes, the Fleetline decal, which is a chrome stripe. I think they were called Sergeant stripes. Fitted those to it just for a bit of extra show, and also the Fulton front visor just for a bit of attitude on it. I've lowered it 3 inches, and it just sits nicely, drives nicely, and has that whole 48 gangster look about it. So I'm quite happy with that. All the paint is original, and the motor's original, and no smoke. It's just a beautiful car to drive. I recently took it down to New Plymouth and came back along the Forgotten World Highway, and that was kind of nostalgic, really. It was kind of fitted along the lines of the car, you know, an old gravel road and an old car, and it was just quite magical, really, to do that in an old car. I'm just going to leave that one as is. I don't really want to break it down too much. I think it'll sort of take it away from its history, really, if I do too much more to it. I've fitted period correct mags to it, and they were a pressed steel wheel, and they just make it pop. And I've put new hubcaps and new chrome trims on it, and between that and all the original chrome is still in really good condition. So it's obviously been really well looked after in its lifetime. There's no rust in it, which is quite unbelievable for a 70-year-old car. But it's just, yeah, it's a really completely different car to drive to the Holden. But it's just another era of classic car, and I'm really quite proud to have it.
Thanks to our sponsors, we have this amazing prize pack to give away, including this Repco 27-inch tool chest and trolley, and a complete Maguire's and Rislone car care pack. With a total prize value of over $2,000, there's no excuse not to enter. Just go to themotorhood.com and follow the Repco Muscle Garage link on the homepage. Good luck, everyone. Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Resto-mod, high performance additives for high performance vehicles.